Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome to this narration of the web series The Nature of Predators. If you're new to the series, there is a playlist listed down below in the description. And as always, I hope that you enjoy. Memory transcription subject, Captain Soplin, United Nations Fleet Command. Date, Standardized Human Time, January 15th, 2137. It wasn't my imagination. Our triangular shuttle was sinking like a stone. Water bobbed up against the cockpit windows, entombing us beneath the waves. Hull integrity would eventually give out and allow water to flood the compartment. The Predators were just watching it happen, with not really enough panic showing in their binocular eyes. They made no attempt to inflate the raft and escape. Well, we could still get the doors open. The craft had tipped forward at a slight angle, and the airborne vehicle began to sink nose first towards a watery grave. A feeling of immense claustrophobia gripped me as the nightmare scenario came to fruition. My claws wrapped around Samantha's arm before I could stop myself. The human looked at me in sheer disbelief and pushed me away. Her nose was scrunched in an obvious sign of distaste. Carlos would have definitely been more amenable to my desperate outreach for support. Samantha heaved a sigh. I'm going to pretend you didn't just fecking do that, but it better not ever happen again. Please, we're sinking. Onzo snickered. Sinking? You don't feel the engines running. It's a submersible aircraft. Upon closer listening, I could feel the quiet hum of the engines. Somehow, the combustion drive was still running underwater and pushing us into controlled manner further into the ocean. There were no signs of leaks seeping through the walls, despite being encased in the depths. I had never heard a plane that could fly underwater, but I should have gleaned our safety from the Predator's calmness. If a human is running or terrified, that's when it's time to assume our deaths are imminent. Sam wasn't the least bit amused by my latching onto her arm, but Tyler and Carlos were both masking smirks. I dipped my head in shame. How had the Yodel known the technology which was unfathomable to the wider galaxy? Until today, I wouldn't have thought such devices would have ever had use. It was embarrassing that the primitive kept his head better than me around novel technology, though I tried to push that egotistic thought out of my mind. Did the Yodel have this type of technology, Onzo? I prompted the reddish-furred marsupial to answer, though I knew the reply would be in the negative. I've never heard of such things. I'm just as surprised it's old news to you. Well, I took upon myself to read up on the specs, and they were included with our briefing notes. Never know when shit's gonna break. Someone's gotta fix it. The Yodel have a saying, everything can break, so assume it'll do so today. That's valid. Every spacecraft crash is due to 1 in a billion mechanical failure. Unlikelihood upon unlikelihood. Anyhow, I'm a little out of my element here. Clearly, nothing like you. I don't mind the water, Sovlin. Mama had a sailboat which she'd take around the harbor. It was a little disappointing to hear human water activities involved hunting. There's so many beautiful things to see. It's the last untamed frontier. Even after space is explored, the ocean still holds so many mysteries and unique life forms. Plenty of humans agree with you, even ones who enjoy fishing like Tyler. We'll go snorkeling or scuba diving just to explore reefs and view marine life. Carlos chimed in. No boat, nothing but a basic breathing apparatus. There's water sports too, surfing, where you try to ride massive waves on a board. Samantha made odd gestures with her hands, as though conveying a series of hills. Parasailing up in the sky, tied to a boat. Whitewater rafting, where you go down turbulent, rocky rapids in an inflatable. I groaned. Why are any of those not mortally dangerous? What is wrong with you Predators? I thought you evolved from fecking trees. It's all in the spirit of fun, a memorable experience. Don't tell me none of it sounds like something you want to try once. No! Those stunts sound horrible. This is horrible. I can see the depth meter going up. It's double digits. I can't see the sky. Quit being a baby. Quit being a predator. I hate humans. I can't stand you. Bonzo, back me up. The surfing sounds totally badass. I can imagine riding a wave up to its crest and trying not to fall, the Yodel answered. We should try it together, old man. Conquer your fears. Do things you think you can't. I'm not doing that. No way on the cradle. Tyler sported a devilish grin. Hey, it could be worse, Sovlin. You could be doing shark cage diving. I offered the blonde human a blank stare. Through the cockpit behind him, I noticed orange-striped fish swimming clear of the aerosub. There was a dark shadow in the murky depths below, which filled me with palpable unease. What if there was some sort of massive predator which hid in the oceanic range? Chewing at my claws with anxiety, I tried to pass through what he said. Cage diving. That can't be what it sounds like, locking yourself in a cage and jumping into the water, not trying to escape. What's a shark? We moved closer to the ambiguous shadow within the turquoise ocean, which I tried to ignore. The humans would freak out if there was a reason for alarm. I couldn't make a fool of myself again. Plastering a look of confusion on my face, I flicked the claw at Tyler for an explanation. His blue eyes twinkled with amusement, and my former guards watched with interest. Ah, you're wondering what that is? Officer Cordana tapped his fingers against the holopad and noticed that his Yodel exchange partner was intrigued too. He showed a picture to Onzo first. I'd say it's as self-explanatory. Oh, and yes, they have side-facing eyes, but sharks are predators. Humans have movies about them eating us, even though that's uncommon in reality. Tyler turned the device towards me, and I flinched away with disbelief. Sure enough, a pack of Terrans were suspended in a metal cage below the water. Sharks circled them with predatory intent, serrated teeth visible. From what I'd learned about Gojits being omnivores, I'd trust the primates on binocular eyes not being necessary to eat living food. However, deciphering human behavior was a maddening endeavor. Was this some twisted way of reassuring their dominance as apex predators against animals that dared to prey on them? You said that it was a fecked-up human movies. It's CGI. That's not a real fecking thing, I screamed. I thought we were keeping it professional, huh? You're all definitely saying and making up predator nonsense on purpose at this point. Tyler flashed his teeth. It's real. We don't need to make anything up. Humans will go to great lengths for thrills. That seems to be tempting fate. I've always believed in respecting nature, though it would be cool to see these animals up close, Onzo said. Good news! You can see them in aquariums too. I thought humans would think water decorations were stupid weight. What did he say? My spines bristled. You have aquariums, like the Kolshians on offer? Yep, Tyler affirmed. And instead of sea plants, you keep dangerous predators in them? Yeah, they're cool to look at, man. Protector! I don't care if we're in the middle of the ocean. I want off the sinking boat. Carlos stifled a laugh. Well, your wish is about to be granted. This puppy isn't meant to dive deeper than 100 meters. The UNS Deep Core is up ahead. The foreboding shadow had grown larger in my periphery, and my eyes swiveled back to the viewport. It was a submerged ship, but one that was so large its breadth faded into the murky distance. There was no way this wasn't the triple ditches of meters long. The all-black, under-decorated exterior would cause an observer to mistake it for a shadowy patch of water. There was a tower affixed to its spine, which perhaps housed an equivalent to a bridge. The humans must have snuck this ship here days ago. How long has it been lurking? I murmured to myself. They couldn't have airdropped it from too high up either, I don't think. Samantha rubbed her hands together. If you think this is the only one we sent, think again. We're told as much as we need to know, Sovlin, but it's a blast to fill in the blanks. The aerosub glided down to the bottom of the deep core, before flipping over and latching onto the watertight door. It was similar to how a spacecraft would dock for boarding. My concerns were assuaged a little, noticing some familiarity. Packing such a large crew into a metal tube must be stressful for any land-dwelling species. But the humans were insane enough to tuck their senses aside. There could be enough predators aboard to compose a small village. I disliked the fact that I was hanging at a 90-degree angle, though I didn't voice my complaints. The humans awkwardly dismounted, with Tyler helping Onzo down. Carlos hoisted me to my own 2 feet, and I took a steadying breath. Our own watertight hatch, which I mistook for an emergency exit when I thought that it was a sane vehicle, was on the right exit. There was a click as the human personnel opened the circular door from the other side. The 5 of us were helped up through the threshold into the submarine, and we admired the metal inner workings of our surroundings. The tunnels were narrow, with small doorways leading between compartments. Many required a slight step up to clear. One Terran greeted us at the docking point, though he wore a different uniform than the group I was used to. I wasn't sure what to expect from land predators who operated underwater, but the ample facial hair checked out with my mental image. Welcome aboard the Deep Core. I'm Commander Fournier. Your presence is requested on the bridge. A gruff voice greeted us. I blinked in confusion. May I ask why, sir? First aliens to step foot on a submarine. Your VIPs. It's a good photo op, you could say. Follow me. Claustrophobia threatened to flare up, with the cramped passages and a lack of direction. Onzo showed no such uneasiness, forcing Tyler to ensure that the Yodel studied objects with his eyes, not his paws. The primitive seemed enamored with any machinery or designed quirks, even basic things such as hinges. I was really trying not to lock down on him, but when he was gawking at simplistic nails, it was difficult. At least his dim-witted curiosity was a distraction from our present environment. The bearded commander led us to a steep stairway and communicated for us to follow his lead. There was a thunderous bark of, "Up, ladder!" before the human in charge popped open a hatch. Tyler waved a hand at me and Onzo, signaling for us to climb after Fournier first. I ensured that my balance was steady, hustling up the rungs. There was a railing surrounding the hatch, along with a safety chain that our guide was unclipping. "Sir, may I ask how much air we have left?" I couldn't resist asking despite being out of breath for the short ascent. "I presume you've been submerged for a few days. Even spaceships can only carry a few weeks of oxygen. And, I don't see any tanks, Fournier issued a throaty laugh. "Scared of submarines, Gojid?" A little. Yes, sir." "Don't be. We have as much air as there is water in the ocean." Onzo bounded after us. "The Terrans use electrolysis to separate the hydrogen from the oxygen in seawater they collect, then use O2 to ventilate the ship." "Why, I like this one," the commander bellowed. "Read up on the subs, haven't you?" "It drew me in like a vortex of knowledge. I always liked machines." "Then I take it you're an engineer. I can see that kid-like glee in your eyes." "A rocket engineer. The unchanging rules, the complex order, the concreteness, and the planning. It speaks to me. Having a new class of machines to study really lit that fire. For the first time since the Federation killed my passion. Not even studying your weaponry truly scratched that itch. It's just, I never dreamed I'd discover a new alien boat." Well, I'm no engineer, but I'll be happy to share what I know. Feel free to ask any questions. We love talking about what we do to someone who really wants to hear it." "Thank you, sir." Commander Fournier led us to the stout compartment, where a vast array of gadgetry and screens covered a wall. Humans were examining a green circle on display, with a rotating line and labeled angles. Data feeds were also listed there, which led me to conclude it was the census equivalent. Navigations was at the front, at least from the appearance of several control columns. Some predators appeared to be acting as officers or supervisors, peering over others' shoulders and issuing commands. This isn't that dissimilar to a starship, but where is the viewport? How can they see? I cleared my throat. Sir, where is the viewport? There are no windows." "We don't need windows," Fournier explained. "We use sonar because sound travels further in water than light. Glass or transparent materials are just a weak point in the hull and a potential source of leaks if we take a hit." "Okay, then why did the submersible craft we took here have windows?" "Because it needs to be a spacecraft too, and you need to see when you're flying. It's useful enough to outweigh any concerns," Carlos chimed in. "This is so cool." Onzo bounced on his digigrade hind legs, and the commander fortunately didn't take offense to his excess excitement. "The sonar doesn't need to see it all, it just listens." Fournier nodded. "Precisely. I saw you examining the bearings on the machinery, and I'll impress upon you the importance of noise reduction down here. We'll keep everything detached from the hull frame to avoid vibrations. Even dropping a wrench can give you away to an enemy. Sonar receptors pick up the slightest vibrations, and then they know you're there." "That explains why your engines have to be so quiet. I was reading about how you try to avoid cavitation, where the vacuum pressure caused by the propeller makes water boil, but the bubbles pop and give off noise." "You don't need a rundown at all, Yodel. You already know everything. We have a speed range where we can operate silently." I was growing bored of the technical explanations, and Onzo, a primitive, was outshining my knowledge to the humans. Perhaps the Yodel was desperate to prove himself as an academic equal, but he didn't need to prattle on about science like he was reading a textbook. While there were impressive feats of engineering on display here, I agreed with Samantha's assertion of naval obsolescence. What good was fighting in water, except in this extraordinary circumstance? The predators hide far away from any targets or locations of value forever. How ingenious. They'd be unseen altogether if the other human tribes realized this theater was irrelevant in a war. I suppressed an irritated huff. "Permission to speak freely, sir." "Granted," Fournier replied, a curious twinkle in his eyes. "Respectfully, sir, I do not see the purpose of putting all this time into submarine development, at least for military aims. Your spacefaring species and your incredible ground assaults, what use is it to hide this far away from civilization, from the action? Maybe you sink a few ships that are using an outdated method of moving resources, but I don't get it. Do you have better weapons?" "You really don't know. To use your word, these ships are masterful predators, nearly undetectable, capable of hearing the slightest sound, and able to surface anywhere in the world. But it goes far beyond that. The destructive power housed here is a hell of a deterrent. That's why we would never actually trade nukes like your fetties thought we did. Nukes? I'm not following. There's tens of nukes stuffed onto just one of these things. We can hang off the shore anywhere and fire a missile underwater. Not that we have to be close to our target. We can shoot ICBMs halfway around the world. You never know where we are, if it's right down your neck or plowing across distant shores. We're waiting to strike anywhere and everywhere, with the technology to end civilizations itself. Even after command is destroyed on land. Obsolete my ass. I gulped with discomfort, wishing I could recede into the ship's walls. That declaration was so calm, yet predatory, destructive. There were chilling implications for the extent of human aggression. It suddenly made sense why Earth tribes were intent on snuffing these predators out of the ocean recesses, and why the stubs tried to remain undetectable at all costs. Should the current battle go awry, Tulsk could be devastated by an unseen arsenal of epic proportions. As Commander Fournier took his post, I tried to understand why humans would devise such machinations for use against their own civilization. The Federation's irradiated Earth could have been a reality. These capabilities shouldn't exist in any culture. I didn't understand why my kind-hearted friends would even think of such predatory weaponry. Surely, understanding the apocalyptic consequences of these vehicles should have convinced them not to build them. My therapist could have elaborated further on the full heights of terror and aggression. Humans didn't enjoy killing, yet they brainstormed and actualized the optimal ways to kill every human in existence. It was a paradox. Perhaps their predator nature factored into their decision-making in a manner that didn't understand. Orders were issued to begin our descent, and for all sailors to report to battle stations. I felt the submersible tilt down, so I tried to clear my head of what the primates were capable of. I have to believe that they will never actually do something like that their goodness will prevail. They didn't snap after Earth, right? I trust their better judgment. Well, if there's really a base at the bottom of the ocean, the vast will affect, I murmured to my posse. Samantha's fist tightened and a smirk returned. I'd say they are. The numbers on the depth meter continued to escalate as the submarine navigated the ocean which spanned below us. Locked inside a steel tube with predators and knowing the potential of its onboard weaponry, my nerves were anything but quelled. The submarines somehow eclipsed even the worst starships in its dastardly capabilities. The fossil wouldn't be prepared for this predatory contraption should we stumble across any of their flotilla. I was glad that the humans were on the same team as me. There was no telling where their capacity for annihilation ended. End of chapter. I would quickly like to thank our Tier 5 patrons, Dragzoon W.R.E, Quantum Wednesday, Ambrose Cattell, Lord Ashrakal, Bushmaster 177, Casper Arnholtz, Cam Maxwell, and Arcadian. Thank you very much.